like to get to know my audience. So if you'd please join me as I give you a certain exercise to allow me to get to know you. Okay? I'd like you guys to put your hands together as if you're clapping, something like this. You put your hand up, and then you clap like this. Put your fingers around the other hand. Okay? Now, when you do that, take note of how your fingers are formed. Do you have your right finger over your left thumb, or do you have your left thumb over your right finger? Check your hands. Okay? So for those who have their right hand over their left, raise your hand. Right over left. Right over left. Okay, fairly half of the room. How about left over right? Okay, other half. So we're basically, half and half. So just to let you know what that means, do you know what that means? Right over left, left over right? It doesn't mean anything. Just kidding. No, actually there's some science to it. People who have their right hand over their left hand are more logical thinkers. They use their left, right over left is left brain. Left over right is right brain. Okay, so right over left, more logical. Left over right is more of the creative side. Okay, and then it has something to do with technopreneurship, which is something I'm going to talk about. Okay, so remember that. Okay, because whenever you go into business, or if you do have any plans for going into business, starting your own company, for example, you would want to partner with someone of the opposite side. So if you're right over left, go find someone who's left over right. Okay? So, anyway, I'm going to talk about technopreneurship, what it means, and share with you my own story as to how I tried to start up something, and the lessons I've learned from doing so. So who am I? So I think you've heard of the introduction. And by the way, that's my Twitter handle, if in case you want to follow me. Or if you have any comments, you can tweet them and put hashtag QITC 2012 or 2012, and I'll try to respond to that later. So as mentioned in the introduction, me and my co-founder, we were fortunate enough to be featured on Entrepreneur magazine back in October 2011 when we were considered to be Innovators of the Month. Oh, by the way, for those who are seated at the back, just to make sure, I'm the guy who's standing and not the one seated. Okay? So just in case you have a bit of vision impairment. Alright? Now, we will talk more about IBO later and what it is. So, let's get to business. No? What is technopreneurship? Any ideas from the audience? What is technopreneurship? Fancy word, yes. As the topic of my talk, it's about technology plus entrepreneurship, right? Let's take a look at some pictures and determine for yourselves if it is technopreneurship. Let's take a look at this one. What do you see? It's what? It's basically a restaurant, right? But a very fancy name, a name that perhaps catches your attention more than the food catches your taste buds, right? Take another example. What do you see here? Interestingly enough, whenever I show this picture, people don't see the food, they see the brand. For some reason, right? Think about it. So, okay. Another picture. What do you see? Okay, so for some reason you know the brand, but not the push cart. So, okay. So what do you find from these pictures? What do you feel? What do you sense? Yes. Very creative, right? Very creative. Now, so let's go back to what is technopreneurship. Now, technopreneurship, I personally feel, is just a fancy word. Again, you have technology and entrepreneurship. If we break it down, let's define entrepreneurship first. What is entrepreneurship? Business. What is entrepreneurship? The ship of an entrepreneur. What is entrepreneurship? Well, entrepreneurship for me basically is just the practice of consistently converting good ideas into something profitable. So if you tell me about it, it's very simple. It's something, a practice that you make, so you have to keep on practicing. So it's something that you learn. It's not something that happens in a snap of a finger. You have to practice it. And it's just simply consistently converting ideas. It may be somebody else's idea, as you can see from the slides. Right? It could be somebody else's brand that you can, or somebody else's idea that you can put into your own and come up with something that is commercially viable, something that will make you money. Now, what is technology? So that's entrepreneurship. What is technology? What is technology? Technology is the science of tech. What is technology? Any? Okay. Technology, I'd like to simply, well, I guess I got it from Wikipedia or any online dictionary. It is simply the application of knowledge to human work. Very simple, is it? It's just applying what you know to something you do. So it is not, when you say technology, it is not about high-tech, low-tech. It's not about gadgets. It's not about software. It's not about electronics. It is simply applying what you know, your knowledge, to human work. So if you think about it, techno and entrepreneurship, they're pretty much just entrepreneurship. It just so happens that it's just, a nice sounding word, right? That gets people's attention, which is something you might want to do when you're trying to market your product. Okay, now that we've gotten out the term, the technopreneurship definition, let me tell you about my story. I co-founded with Esh Dalmacho, the other guy, the seated guy in the picture. A website. It's basically a real estate search website. We started way back in early 2010, and we've been online for about 2 years now. And the basic idea for Hypo.ph was basically to provide Filipinos a way to search for real estate. That means for home buyers, if you want to buy a home that is near a certain place, like near a certain school, near a certain hospital, near where you work, near where your parents are, this is what you used to use. Used to search for real estate. So it simply operates and takes advantage of maps. So instead of giving you newspaper-like listings where you see each entry, we basically point out the dots. In this case, I captured Cagayan de Oro to show you some of the properties that were listed with Hypo.ph near this area. Sounds logical? Right? So you might think, well, it sounds like a very simple idea, but why hasn't anyone thought about it yet? And furthermore, you might be asking, you've been online for 2 years. Have you generated any single cent of revenue? You think that would be a good question to ask? Yeah? Right. How I wish I can tell you that we're like millionaires by now. But the fact is, we've been online for 2 years. Revenue is what? Any guesses? Zero. There you go. Zero. Why is it zero? You think we're wasting our time? I hope not. Okay. So, ergo, what I've learned. So that's what I'm going to share with you this afternoon. What I've learned as we've tried to generate millions and millions using Hypo.ph. So, let's take number one. Defining your business model. So it's not about the models that you see there, it's about the business model. Now when we started, we just simply had a vision. We simply said, hey, we wanted a better way for Filipinos to search for real estate property. But we forgot that, okay, this is the value you bring to your seller, to your home buyers, but we simply forgot about the home sellers. We didn't know, or we didn't think about, would they actually be willing to pay Bible.ph to have their properties listed? Did it have enough features that would compel them? Or they might just go to another website that provides free classified ads that starts with the letter S and ends with the two letters I and T. Yeah, and I don't need to mention the brand, and you already know it. See how good they are. But so basically, that's the first lesson we've learned. You got to understand how your business model will look like. Not only do you have a business model, you have to keep on refining it as you learn along the way. Understand so far? Okay. So another thing is, together with defining or even refining your business model, some websites, most of them online, do provide free services, right? Like free classifieds, free online something, like Google Docs, you might think it's free, but actually it's not. So another way to actually deliver your services online is using the freemium model. Anyone heard of the freemium? It's free and premium model. Anyone? Freemium? Well, what it basically means is that you offer a certain set, a limited set of features for free. And then you provide a premium set, a more richer set of features for a certain price. That's freemium. But unfortunately, I think we've done some studies and research for the websites based here in the Philippines. Most of them simply do stuff for free, and that's it. And they basically earn from ads, which I think, well, I mean, it's good because they do generate from ads. But what I'm thinking is that I believe that if your service or software or platform, whatever service that you are offering online, if it is good enough, you can charge people for it. So my lesson there is focus on your product quality, focus on your product's features. Don't just go for free. Because if you offer it for free, people will not value it. They will think it's garbage. You too, if you're developing it, you will feel it's garbage. But if you put a price on it, then it will compel you to make it better. So I like to surround myself with forces that help myself get better. It's, for example, I'm sure after you graduate from school, you want to probably go find a job, right? Do you think you want your employer to employ you for free? Yes or no? No, of course not. You want to be paid. Why? Because you value yourself. You value your work. And that's what you have to keep on honing, practicing your skills. Alright? So, another lesson I've learned is this. Customer experience is greater than technology. I think far too often, as comp-sci students, which I believe most of you are, or IT students, we always focus on the technology, right? We think about HTML5, we think about mobile devices, we think about iPads, we think about multi-touch, we think about a lot of those technical things. But sometimes we often forget what the customer experience is. Most often than not, we think about the technology and we even sell the technology. Most of our customers don't really understand what HTML is. Like what John Paul de Guzman this morning was talking about. It's not just about HTML. It's not just about all the high-tech CSS3, JavaScript, and whatnot. It's not about the canvas, the video, and all those other tags. It's about providing customer experience. What does that mean? That means if the customer were to use your product, whether it be a web page, whether it be an online repository or online service, that is what the customer will feel. It's not about the technology behind. Now, think about it. Who here uses Facebook? Wow, almost. Well, only a few. Okay, surprising. Who uses Twitter? Only a few. Okay. Who uses Google to search? All right, more hands. Do you know what technology Google uses behind its search? Anyone? Because if you would know, I'd like to work with you, maybe we can beat Google. But the fact of the matter is, it's a very complex technology, and they've kept on refining it. What you know now may not be exactly what they're using, but who cares? It's not about the technology. But why do you use Google? Because it's fast, right? So that's the experience. It's not about the technology, it's about the speed. Do you get better results? Yes, right? So it's not, who cares about the technology, the specs, the features? You just figure out, oh, it satisfies my experience, my need, my requirements. I'm going to use it. I'm going to pay for it, right? So always remember, customer experience will always trump technology. So here's one of the lessons I learned as I was studying, as we were developing Hypo.ph. This lesson I got from Steve Jobs. And basically here he says, you start with the customer experience and work back towards technology. It is not about saying, hey, I know HTML5 now, which is technology first, and then figure out where to use it. It's better if you start with the customer experience and then work your way back to technology. If you notice, some of the Apple products basically demonstrate that. Think about the iPhone. They're not the first to create a mobile phone, right? They're not. So what's the experience that they were providing, that they were thinking of, and then work backwards to technology? For the iPhone. Anyone? By the way, who's using an iPhone? Okay, so only one guy. So probably a wrong audience to ask. Okay, let's go for something older. Who's using iPod? Okay, so probably another wrong. Anyway, we'll probably think about who's using a smartphone. Smartphone. Anyone? No one's using a smartphone in this audience? Come on, don't be shy. Okay? Anyways, so let me try to explain a bit of the iPhone experience. Basically, when the smartphones came out, they were saying that you can now run apps on your phone. It's not just about SMS, it's not about phone calls, right? You can now run apps. But back then, before the iPhone came out, to download an app, and back then it was mostly Java applets, J2ME for those of you who know Java. Or for those who know Palm, there's a specific Palm OS. Or for those who know Windows CE, the compact edition, again, you'd have to download software. Installing software on your mobile phone was really a pain. And not only that, it broke the entire customer experience because for you to find an app, you'd have to figure out where it is. Now it's easy with the iPhone. It's all in App Store. And it's just one click away. So that's the experience that the Apple guys worked with. Making that experience just one click away, making it seamless so that you can download your app from one single place and install it to your phone and enjoy the experience. Right? So that's the idea of going from customer experience then working your way back to technology, not the other way around. Okay? So I know most of you are IT students, comp-sci students. Yes, I'm not saying you forget about the technology because you're going to need it. What I'm saying is just don't forget about the customer experience. What are you trying to let your customer experience? What do you want your product, when someone uses your product, what do you want your product to provide to that user? What experience? Is it slowness? Is it speed? Right? Is it entertainment? Is it the cheapest thing you can buy on the net? So you have to think about that. Now, let's put some examples on in which case technology sort of came first, but then people figured out ways to provide a very delightful customer experience. Now, what you see here is reality, right? I just panned, this is near where I live, somewhere in Makati. That's reality, right? Now, this is augmented reality. We still use the same real world that we see, but we try to augment it by adding some features. Like in this case, this was a use case where it was used to determine where you are located. It will provide you directions as you are walking. But take note, it's not like Google Maps where you're shown a map. Here you actually use your mobile phone's camera as a way to see the world, and then they augment reality by showing you certain directions, certain landmarks. That is augmented reality. Now, again, that is technology, right? Where can you apply it? Apart from the fact of finding your way around, where would you apply it? Think about it. Any ideas?